All right, what is up, everyone? I'm Blaine from AceMind, and today we are going to keep building our post contest sims. We should just start doing our intros like the Jackass. The I'm Blaine, and this is Jackass. I'll give everybody a couple minutes to filter in, but we're pretty much going to pick up where we left off. If you remember yesterday, we got to the point where we actually loaded in our contest. We created a little function here to load in all the contest lineups. And so we can just fold that into our post-contest simulator, which is basically our already created GPP sim code. And then we're just going to make some changes to it to make it fit kind of how our sims work. Don't forget, if you haven't yet, to like, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. Always wanted to say that. AceMind.io is a good website, and so is getlineups.com. What's going on here? Okay. Phew. Get everything set up here. All right, so let's just get right in here. So we have our what's up, OA? We have our get lineup from string here, and we need to make a couple adjustments to it to make it run. So first of all, what we're gonna do is we're actually just gonna take it. Well, there's two different ways we can go about this. First of all, we could just fold this into our function right now, but let's go back to our original DF, right? Just remember, this is what it looked like. This is just how pandas reads in the lineup CSV. We notice we have this unnamed 6 column. So there's always, looking at the contest standings, there's always this empty column in between the lineups and the players. And what I want to get, I don't care about the ownership because we can calculate that ourselves, but I want to get the actual fantasy points because we want to use that in our analysis. So let's write something really quick. So we'll just put a comma here. And so df, we'll just print out the df.columns. And what we really want is player, roster position, drafted fantasy points. So player df was df like that. Now we have our player df. And really, like, we don't even need to change anything about, like, we can just drop NA. So we can do that. Equals player df dot drop NA, right? But I think we pretty much have everything we need here. And so we just need to write, if we go back into our post-contest simulator, and I know this is a lot of code, but we're looking for load player IDs. So we have our player IDs function. This is where we load in our actual player IDs for the contest here, right? And we are just going to write some kind of fuzzy batching to match up the player name here with the player name in our player dictionary. And so I don't really want to like take the rip all like the player IDs and the player projections functions out. So we're just going to fold all that into one function. So we're back into our get lineup from string. And one last thing I want to do here is if we look at so this one we just loaded lineup from string, right? What we want to eventually do is make our lineups look like our lineups in here, which, where is it? I know it's in here. It is somewhere in here, up higher, here. So we just want to turn our lineups into this, somewhat like this format. Some changes, we're going to add in entry name, username. But this is kind of what we want, is we want these keys attached to our lineups when we do this function. And so let's think about how to do this. There's really two different ways. So let's go ahead and just define a function in our main PPP sim code. Let's close the AI sidebar for now. We don't really need it for this part. And let's bring it right about here. And we'll just go def. Let me turn off OneDrive because it's going to slow down my internet. I won't give it a second. So def load. What do we want to call this? Load contest lineups, maybe self. And we probably need to include path. And so, what is our? So really, we have two separate functions. We have this function, which is just get lineup from string. So we can just put this anywhere. We can put this here. We don't necessarily, because we are just defining this lineup string, we could define this function outside of the simulator class, right? Because the way our code works, everything is embedded inside of these classes. But we could, and actually, just to prove a point, we can take extract name and entry and put it up here, and we can take our get lineup from string and also put it up here. So now they're outside of the class method. All right. And we need to make sure we're bringing in that lineup big positions. What did I do with it? Where's my lineup picked positions? Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. So we'll grab this. We'll just bring this in. And again, we'll grab this and put it here. Okay. So now we have these two methods that we can call inside of our class. So we're going to go back to our load contest lineups. And really, it should be like, let's call it load post contest data. Let's do this because we already have a load contest data function here that loads in. This is what loads in our payout structure, right? Here, I have this commented out print. So I don't really want to overwrite this load contest data. Instead, we'll load in this load post contest data. And then we need to define, we have the path defined. And let me make sure I'm actually reading the path correctly. Yeah, we got to do this. So we're going to load in our path like this. And now that means that we're going to have to add into our config. Where is my config file? Actually, do I even have a config in here? May not. Okay. So here's our sample config. This is just for people to use. Let's copy it. And we're going to rename this to config.json. And then we're going to have a post contest file. And this is going to be called contest standings. But this could be renamed. Anybody, you could rename this to whatever. We're just giving it a name so the function knows what it's doing. And let's check our look. I'm not going to kind of going fast here, but I just want to. I forget how we did the projections path. Maybe it's load rules. This is what I want. This is what I want. So we define these. Now, oh, you had it. You had it. Oops. Cursor had it, and then there we go. The cursor's already given me our post contest path. And then we can just let's move down to the bottom after we've asserted our player dictionary. And down in here, we can do self dot just like that. Nice and easy. So now we've added our post contest path. We're loading it from the config. So now we have a new argument in the config if you want to use this. And now we can rename this contest standings to whatever we want, and it'll still load in our post contest file. As soon as I find my post contest, I think it's actually post contest lineups, right? It's data. This is cursor. Thought it was being sneaky, trying to rename the function for me. Okay, so we have our reader here, and let's just rename this a DF now because we can just use the same code we used here. So now we can just apply our extract name and entry, just like that. And we could do the apply on the same get lineup from string. And in fact, Harvard or the West. Yeah, how do I like them, Apple? I did read, I have read Howard Zinn, you know? I did read that book in high school. So what we can do, we have our extract name and entry, but what I want to do is create like let's just move up to here. And we're gonna create a new attribute in our DPP sim class. You can leave this stuff over there, right? So we want to do like contest lineups equal like this. Yeah, People's History of the United States. I have not read that one. So now we have this new attribute called self.contest lineups, and we want to fill it up with all of the lineup data that we want to keep track of when we're doing these sims. And let's just go ahead and just run it. I think apply is actually faster than iterating when we're creating this stuff. We want to save iteration until the very end. And actually we can test what we're doing in our DF lineup deck. So let's just look at our DF again in our kind of live. We want to get every column before the untitled. So if we remember in our df.columns, we have this unnamed 6. We want to grab these columns, and that's it. So we could just do df equals df like that, right? Pylance has crashed. Pylance has been weird. Yep, no problem, Willie. Glad you're using them. If you guys ever use the repos and you have any changes you want to make, or you've made changes yourself, and if you want to send up a PR, we've hooked up the people that contributed to our repos in the past with free memberships and stuff. So happy to hand out some free memberships to people for the website if you make any changes to the repo you'd like to see. So we'll do df equals df.drop_na, and I just want to see when we did our. I just want to run this in my terminal real quick because I want to see. I think we could set a I think we can just do, we do df.set index, and we set it to our entry ID. Now we have our entry IDs. They should all be unique. It would be weird if they weren't. DraftKings would really have to screw up if that were the case. Okay. And then we're going to make it a dict. Nice little dictionary. Orient equals index. And let's see how this looks. So not bad, right? Dictionary. Each entry ID key has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. And we're going to want to add more values, but this is a good start. This is a good start. So we can do this. So then really we could just make our self.contest lineups is this. And now we know what these are going to be. Okay. And actually we want to do lineups DF like this. And then we want to do the same thing we did a second ago with the players DF. And we'll just drop NA like this. But we don't want to do this. What we want to do now is we're going to install a, I don't think we actually need to do fuzzy matching here, but we're going to make sure that our players match up with the players in lineups. So I've installed this Python package called the fuzz. It's kind of like we used to use fuzzy wuzzy. Now we want to use the fuzz. And this is where it's going to get a little more abstract, because we're going to be working, we aren't going to be able to use our interactive terminal very much anymore. I think we want to import fuzz. I always forget the right way to import. So we're down here. And then we're just going to write a little method for let's call player see, now cursor's already done most of the work for us. Let's make sure this is right. So what it's doing is it's going through our player dict.values. And so we're just going to grab the name. We're doing some trimming. But what we want to do, let's go ahead and just add a, let's see. So let's actually change this to .items. And we'll just say for key player. And what I want to do is just make key, actual F points. Just like that. And I think that'll do the trick. I'm a little worried that this might be doing this if and then break might screw it up, but we shall see. We shall see. So then let's also just add a little debugging print. Found match for player named Fuzzy. Just like that. So now we'll get a nice print when we try to run this. When we try to run this, we'll get a nice print that shows us our fuzzy matching. Make sure everything's kind of up to snuff when we do this. I feel like setting it lower than 90, like 80 would be better. No, I mean, maybe 90 is enough. The thing is, you don't want to set it too low, right? Because if we're just iterating through our player DF and our player dict, and we just find the first match over 80 for each player in the player dict, we really want to do is make sure we find the best match. So maybe we'll actually change this a little bit. So maybe we'll do like a potential matches is this. And what we can do in Cursor is we can just highlight this whole thing. This is becoming a big ad for Cursor. So we want to say, instead of iterating through player DF and returning the first match over 80, let's return the highest match in player DF for each player in player diff. So it's just going to flip around the loop for us. See? Now it has best match. Going to go through, grabbing the ratio here. So this is the ratio, like the ratio score. There's different in the fuzz and fuzzy wuzzy. There's different. I always forget which one ratio is, but basically we're just getting the score of the match here. And then once we're done looping through the player DF, we have the highest match for each player, and we'll just we'll assume that the highest match is the right player, and we'll just match it up like that. So then now we have our contest lineups loaded, and probably we should there's an argument we should split this up a little bit more, so it's a little more clear where things are being loaded. But I think it's okay to do it this way. So then let's make a new method. Now that we have, so we've assigned actual fantasy points for each player now. So we don't really need to return anything because we're just reassigning the values in our dictionary. And same with, all we're doing is making self.contest lineups our lineups DF, which looks like this. Right. But now what I want to do is I want to go through, the lineups are still like these weird plain strings. See, DST Texans, Flex Jamar Chase. And I just realized that I didn't include lineup dict in our oops, I didn't include lineup dict in our, there we go. So if we go back to here, and what was our DF again? So remember we did DF dot set index entry ID. So we got to this point, but I think, yeah. Well, let's run this again to get our lineup dict column back. I know this is all kind of out of order now, but that's okay. So make sure we have our lineup dict in here now. Good. So now if we orient this, now within each entry in our lineups dictionary, here's our match lineup dict. But now there's a couple other things I want to do here, because I don't want these strings. You know, I want these to be the player IDs, because the player IDs are what everything else is built off of in our if we look at our player dict, eventually we turn everything into IDs. I forget where exactly, but somewhere in here we're changing. Originally we start with like a tuple for the keys, and then we are adjusting it to ID. And actually maybe we aren't. Let me see. No, we have to be somewhere. We have to be somewhere. Where am I doing that? Maybe we aren't. Maybe we are just rolling it with this. See, we have a tuple here in our player ID name. So player, position string, team. But I feel like when we create, getting through all this code, I feel like when we create the actual lineups in the lineup generator, we're using the IDs. So let's zoom through and try to figure out where I'm doing that. Not in our load player IDs, that's for sure. Not there. ID to player dict. Let's try this. Okay. All right, that makes sense. So let's go back into our method here, and let's do like a def update contest lineup. So then, sorry, doing this for me. One more thing. I want to do lineups df.columns. Like this. I want to do this because it's going to be easier just to refer to this as the lineup than the lineup dict, right? So now, instead of this being lineup dict, it'll just say lineup. This will say original lineup. And then what we want to do is we want to go through our lineup dictionary, our nested dictionary, and we're going to do the same kind of fuzzy matching. Just like this, we're going to do this almost the exact same thing. And we're going to match it up. So for just like this, it almost has it, right? Because we're 4-player and value lineup. So we're going through our lineup. But actually, we want to copy this almost exact same thing. So let's do player equals player.lower dot replace. And it's not quite there. You can see what cursor is trying to get me to do, but it's not quite what we want. It's not quite because it's trying to just use X as the player key directly in player dict. But I want to do the same fuzzy matching. So let's just do this. And now we're going to go through. But actually, that's not quite right. We want to do it. We want to iterate through our just like that. So then we can just there we go. And now we don't care about this. What all I want to do is just replace the ID. And so what I'm going to do is let's see, position like this, and oops. And now all we've done is we've replaced, and it's actually probably possible we could replace value lineup position directly, but this just makes sure that we're accessing the right value and replacing it with our best match ID. And that should do the trick. And now we're just going to get the ID from our player dict. I'm pretty sure it's ID capitalized. I'm like 80% sure. Yeah, okay. Okay. And so now we've updated we're updating our contest lineups. So let's just go ahead and we don't need to print that. It's going to be a lot of prints. Now we'll add a nice little updated contest lineups. But then that's not all I want to do here. That's not all I want to do here because I want to actually get. Let's go ahead and add some keys here. So we want to add. Let's see. We'll do it projected F points. Let's go ahead and make this capital so we remember. And let's just do it inside of our update contest lineups. So self dot Raj F points. So our projection. Do we need to get this now? I guess would be my question. Let's save updating these until the end. All I want to do right now, I'm kind of going back waffling about how we should do this. All I'm doing right now is let's just get the IDs into contest lineups. Okay, so now we can just remove all of these methods that we have that generate the lineups. We don't need these anymore. I'm gonna save a piece of generate lineups because I want to make sure our contest lineups match up with what we expect. In fact, we can go ahead and we don't even need projection. We don't need ceiling. All we need is count. All we need are these. And this may throw an error that I'm trying to assign these values. There, clean it up for me. This may throw an error that I'm trying to assign these values, but we'll see. We'll see when I run it. I always forget how Python instantiates these dictionaries. But we can go down to here, get rid of this. We can get rid of setup stacks. I'm gonna leave generate field lineups alone for the moment because we shouldn't need any of we should be able to just go and we can just remove everything. And let's just do this. Like this. So we no longer need sort lineup by start time, right? We no longer need any of these. Get start time, get player get player attribute we may need. Get rid of that. We'll leave get player attribute alone. So since we're not passing anything, we can just access self.contest lineups directly. We don't need to pass anything here. And since we can just do in self.contest lineups like this, we're going to iterate through self.contest lineups. We're going to freeze and get a set of our lineup or a lineup dict in our example over here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to increment the count together. Lineup.values, scene lineups, blah, blah, blah. But we need to make one more thing because at the end, we want to map our field lineups back to our back to our contest lineups. So we'll do like a contest lineups map. It's like this, right? And so now go back down to our update field lineups. And all I want to do is I want to say for each, let's do for each K, so each entry ID in contest lineups. Actually, I think we want to name this. I believe we wanted this to be a default dict. I think this is correct. Because now it's just going to be like an empty, for each map, it's going to be like an empty list. And back to update field lineups. So then we can say self dot contest lineups map lineup set. What's my existing index here? Yeah. So now what we've done is we have our contest lineups map. We have this existing index, which is these seen lineups. So as it's iterating through, keeping track of which lineups it's seen and which lineups it hasn't. So this is why we use a frozen set so we can track duplicates, right? If you don't know what a frozen set is, so like if we have a list, I don't have a great example. Basically, it deduplicates a list, and it's a pretty fast operator. And a frozen set freezes. So like normally a set, it doesn't matter what the order is. For a list, it does. But with a frozen set, everything's frozen in place. So that way, like, and actually, I think we want to do sorted. I think we want to do sorted here. I'm not sure it matters, but we're going to do it. I think we have one too many parentheses. There we go. So we don't care about so anyway, we have this lineup set now that gets mapped in our scene lineups index. That way we can keep track of duplicates. And then we have this map of contest lineups with our existing index and just appending it. So that way we like every time we add a new index here, we should end up with a list of all the times the lineup was duplicated, which for a 12-game NFL Classic slate, I don't think we're going to see many duplicates, but maybe. And we're also going to perfect. So we have this new key, right? New key is we're iterating through. So we're starting at 0 and we're iterating through all the contest lineups and we're basically assigning like a number. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the key for our field lineups. That way we don't have like, because entry IDs aren't necessarily unique if they're duplicated. Or I mean, entry IDs are unique, excuse me, but the lineup inside of the entry ID isn't unique. So let's just make sure that we have a map back at the end of our output to our contest lineups. So at this point, we should have, I should just be able to run this and we should end up with these prints happening where, and we should have, we should have our lineups all loaded. I'm pretty sure, and we'll test this in a second. But we're in a pretty good spot. So let's go back up here. We could get the optimal. We don't necessarily need it. And let's just go ahead and remove it for now. And we also, what we want to do is go to we have our main here. This is where we call everything. And we'll say what's a good command? Post contest sim? Is that too wordy for people? There we go. Self dot. I mean, we've already loaded post content. We really should only need to run tournament simulation. But let's go ahead and make sure that we've renamed this to the right thing. NFL post contest simulator. Oops. Okay. We don't want that. Why are you being difficult all of a sudden? What the heck? I just want to remove this. There we go. Okay. So at this point, we should have our. We could just run this thing. Let's see what happens. We'll call it with the normal way: Python source main.py ek post contest sim. And let's just. This is going to break for sure. I just want to see where it's going to break. Where it's going to break. Well, it's going to break because it's saying no module named JSON5. Very interesting. What did I do? Site is arguments 1. Okay. What the heck? Why is it trying to run the showdown optimizer? What did I do? Is it nested? Okay, post contest sim. Where is my print? Where is my print? Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, we're fine. Let's go ahead and just install JSON5. So it's importing it into the top of our main.py. This is a gaming laptop. It is the got what is this one? Forget. I got it at Best Buy last year. Got a like a 4600 GeForce for graphics card, AMD Ryzen, but I forget which laptop it is. Okay. So now let's see where it breaks. Okay, we got to stop pulp. I forgot about this whole virtual environment stuff. I have to install everything. Nope, you already installed pulp. There we go. Made it that far. We no longer need TQDM here. Install sci-fi. We should just include a requirements folder. That would be helpful. Maybe we'll do that once we get everything set up. Come on, SciPy. Damn it. There we go. More requirements. I can already think of there's going to be one problem that we haven't addressed yet that's going to be a real issue, and it actually might stop it from working. Actually, it's probably going to complete, but there's probably going to be blank players. For example, like in our projections file, we have our own projections of everybody, obviously, and they go down to 2. But for example, what if somebody played somebody that we would have projected like at 1, or they would have projected at a higher value for whatever reason, and they have them in their lineup, and they're not even in our player pool. We need to have some kind of default value for those players. I feel like that's going to be an issue. Another one, Seaborn. Number in here. Yeah, exactly. The siege strategy of playing the backup quarterback in Showdown, which worked one time. Marcus Mariota, if I remember correctly. Yeah, or another good example is somebody with a reserving a lineup or like just putting in a placeholder and not ever updating it. Now what? Let's just not include number. Let's just not include it. I don't think we need it. I don't think we need it. Do we use JIT anywhere? Damn it, we do need it. Damn it. Okay. Whatever. Come on. Tigers won, huh? Team of Destiny. Team of Destiny. There we go. They were like 250 to 1 to win the World Series. Oh wait, no. Buzz. They were like 250 to 1 to win the World Series, and I thought about it just because their pitching has been so good and couldn't get there. Couldn't get there. So let's just remove this. We don't need CID anymore. Of course we're using this contest data. Number iterations before. And so let's just do let's do 10,000 sims. 10,000 sims. And we'll leave this optional here. Well, would help if I put this in the right place. We'll leave the file part optional because I could probably think of a use case or two where you might want to upload your own entries file and not just write down your username, for example, in the command line. What did I do wrong? Oh. Oh, that's annoying. That is annoying. I know what we can do. So if you notice, DraftKings switches over their game info to final. Well, we can hack the system to get around that. We can get around that. So let's go into I'll go into an old job. This was from the September 29th slate. Well, oh man, there's a lot of junk in here. No wonder why this thing's running slow. So we have our projection template, and then I'm just gonna do this in Excel very quickly. I can just look up on player ID and get the fixed game ID or the game info. Normally game info is a string like team abbreviation at team abbreviation. And right now it's just saying final. So I'm just going to run a quick X lookup on our internal data and get that game info. But that does make me wonder. Hmm. Okay, this could be a real problem because inside of our downloaded so now I've updated these strings, right? But if anybody wants to FD core, what do you mean? I've updated the game infos manually with our data, but for anybody who wants to be able to run a post contest sim locally, they need to download the salary CSV. They need to download the salary CSV. And all we really we don't care about the times. All we care about now, it'd be interesting to maybe use time, kind of do like a time lapse of the contest. That would be fun. But really, I just want to get the team abbreviations, right? So let's see if our friends at NFL DataPy. Not quite gonna work, is it? Okay, I'm thinking about it. How we're gonna do this is we're gonna have. Let's go back into our testing contest loader. And in our code, we split on abbreviations right here. and we're just getting all the matchups together because the matchups are what we use to sim out the player fantasy results or fantasy point results. So I need to recreate this, right? Somehow, because the player IDs file will no longer do that for us. So what we can do is we can install NFL DataPy. This might be kind of overkill, but that's okay. Now it's screwing with all my installed. Now I can clean some more stuff out while that's clean up some more crap on this computer. What's going on? Ham and cucumber slap. All right, did this finish? No. Why does it keep saying access is denied? That's so weird. That's so strange that it does that, but it seems like it's downloaded. So let's go ahead and try it. All right. We have our NFL DataPy. NFL DataPy, and we're going to let's try first. Let's just try importing the schedule. They like it to be a list. I always forget about that. Here we go. So this is what we want. We got home team, away team. And now we can rebuild our this like this. And we can rebuild this now. They even got the officials. NFL DataPy, good library. So let's go back into here and import. And so where is our loading our projections? It's actually loading player IDs where we get the game info. So we're going to define a new function, get team schedule. And if we look at our, if we look at our scad equals NFL dot schedules 2024. We look at our schedule.columns. Let's see if we have the week in here. Week. Perfect. So we're going to have to make this an argument that people pass now. So we will say it's going to have to be like DK, post-contest sim, and then you'll say year and week like this, sims, and file. So we have site is 1, post-contest sim is 2. So then we'll say year equals arguments 3, week equals arguments 4, just like that. I think this will do the trick for us. So now we'll define this. Let's get it into the format that we want. And instead of game info, in here, we're actually going to extract this out. where's our load schedules? Here we go. And then return. We can actually do even. Let's just do this on the side. So schedules. So let's look at week 3. Oops. And actually, that was week 4, wasn't it? So let's just do it with real data instead of. There we go. Okay. The schedules equals. Like this. We'll bring it in. So here's our week 4 schedule, and we'll reconstruct our game info strings now. We actually, all we want is the away team at home team. Away team at home team. So we'll do matchups like this. And we have matchups. Just like that, right? Simple enough. Bring this in here. Move this down. Here we go. Return matchup. So when we load in our player IDs at the start now, we're just going to load in. And we also need to add some variables at the top. Year, week. And we're going to just right here say self.year equals year, self.week equals week. In our main now, we want to tell it that we're going to use year, week variables, just like that. And remember, matchups is a DF. Matchups is a DF with away team, home team. And if this thing would stop freezing on me, what we're going to do, like match in this case, is actually just, we have our matchups. So we can say result equals matchups. Just like that. Just like that, right? And even better than returning a DF like this, what if we just made this a list of tuples? List of tuples or something. So we don't have to do a dot loc here on the DF. We don't have to search. We don't have to search away team and home team, right? So what if we actually made matchup something like what if we made it? What's the best way here? We could make it a dictionary to make fast lookups. That's one way to do it for sure. We could do it's like, right, we could just do like a away dict. Right? We did this. Now we have our away dict and our home dict. I feel like there's some Python object structure that is better than this. And if you know it, please help me out. Because this feels like it's overcomplicating it. So we'll just say away matchups, home matchups. So now we have it in this dictionary form. So we can go boom. Right, here we go. Away matchup team, if team, we've already gotten the team here. We no longer need game info. And we don't need this groups anymore. You say if result. And I think this will do the trick. I think this will do the trick. You no longer need self.game info. I think this will do it right there like that. So now what we've done is we're using NFL DataPy to get a schedule for the week that we input in our function. And now we have these two dictionaries that we can just do a quick lookup. And then let's just make sure. I want to make sure our self.matchups is actually loading correctly. Perfect. And at the end over here, we can just print self.matchups just to be safe. And actually, let's do an F string so we know what we're talking about. Matchups are. I just want to make sure we're getting a nice little tuple here of the matchups when we upload this. So let's go ahead and run this again. Years is not defined. That's because I'm an idiot. Years equal, yeah. Just have to make it a list. That's how NFL DataPy grabs that data. Or M and up. Where are we doing that? I think this is gonna work. We shall see. Yeah, we don't need that anymore. Op equals tuple result. And let's run it again. Ooh. Oh, LAR versus LA, huh? And LAC. So let's fix that really quickly. Probably better to stay with the DraftKings. Probably better to stay with the DraftKings abbreviations than use the NFL ones. It's really annoying how all these sites they can't even match up abbreviations. The Rams or LAR sometimes not. We actually want to flip this around to LAR. There we go. So what are the Chiefs then? What are the Chiefs? How annoying is this? Okay, let's do it a different way. If P equals LA, I believe this will do it. Well, I think this should replace the values in place, but it may not. It did not. So annoying. If this time it's going to work, I promise. This is the way. All right, we did it. LAR. We're on to a new error. Rank not found in index. This is inside of our load post contest data function. Let's go ahead and just print df.const. See what it's doing. Why it's being silly. It makes sense. Well, that's a new one. Lineup. Blank. What is blank? That's my name. I just typed in my name. Blank. I'm not sure why I did that weird character, but I'm just gonna manually rename them just to make sure we're not doing anything weird here. Player. Roster position, percent drafted, F points. Username. Entry number. Entries there. Let's not forget to bring in these columns that we included earlier. We no longer need to rename them, right? And lineup dict is just lineup now. There we go. Okay, trying again. Look at that. Beautiful. Loading in. Alvin Kamara. Jammer. All this just looks good. Almost looks too good. Ray even found. That's dangerous how well it worked. Okay, so now we're on to our run simulation for game. So it's actually done a pretty good job. Pretty good job. And we could even go into our tournament simulation down here. And let's just number of unique field dynamics is 0. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Why is that true? Takes 5 positional arguments, but 6 were given. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Up here somewhere, team 1 ID, team 1, team 2 ID, team 2. Number iterations. I guess. I feel like the problem here is just weird parsing of the matchups. No, that seems okay. That seems okay. Let's just go. Let's just save our. Let's just look at our game simulation params and see what's going on here. Why this is being funny. That's the issue right there, isn't it? Matchup. EEN. NYJ. Yeah, this is not the best way to do this, is it? Let's just do this. Self matchups equals set, and see what happens now. Just some weird bugs with the way that Python's trying to parse these strings out. You don't need these prints anymore. Let's check this again. We need to make sure we're adding it as a tuple. And I wonder if we just turn this into a set right away. No, we actually don't want to do that. We actually don't want to do that. Where's my game? I want to not print this. How annoying. How annoying. At the end, we're going to want to deduplicate our matchups, is what I think we're going to need to do. Yeah, see how... I don't know why it keeps doing that. That's very annoying, but I think it's doing every matchup twice, is it not? Yeah. Deduplicate matchups. Yeah, still that did not quite do what we wanted. Hmm. What's the best way to do this, you think? Let's ask the AI. Let's ask the AI. Let's just have it do it for us. I don't know why I was having such a hard time with that for me. Much better. Much better. No more of that nonsense. Okay. So let's go ahead and debug why we're getting this weird 5 positional, but 6 were given. And let's just, we know that our fuzzy matching is working, so let's ignore found best match for now. So it says 6. How funny. Run simulation for game. Team 1 ID, Team 1, Team 2 ID, Team 2, self.num iterations. Was I even using? Or did it just add roster construction on its own? Oh, it was there. The GPP simulator works, doesn't it? That's weird. See now. Let's see now. Now that it accepts roster construction as an argument. Hmm. Hmm. Very sneaky. Let's just change this to ID. Unique key is used on the for Showdown because FanDuel doesn't give different IDs for captain versus FanDuel doesn't give different player IDs depending on MVP or star or utility or whatever. So I want to just keep keep our game sim code consistent between the Showdown and the GPP sims. The only difference is that GPP sims uses multi-processing, so each process handles its own game sim. Splits that work up. You don't really need it for Showdown because you're just doing one game. But I want to keep perfect. Okay. So we're getting this positive semi-definite error. This is just an issue with the Cholesky decomposition. If we look into the code, when we get the correlation in the covariance matrix down here, when we're building it, our build covariance matrix function. It's just a weird error that we get sometimes with negative values that for the purposes of this, I'm not worried about it. I'll fix it. We'll fix it later. But I want to just work on make sure that we have first of all, let's just make sure that our field lineups are even loaded. I mean, that's the first step, right? That's the first step. See, top.field lineups is still let's add some prints here. So print assigning entry K to field lineups. we'll do like if k, we'll just do this. It's going to print out a bunch of garbage. That's okay. Not the end of the world. And then we are going to added entry K to field lineup. So we'll do the same thing here. Incremented. Oops. That's fine. We can do it this way. And the other thing I want to do is let's just print out our contest lineups map. Going to make a lot of prints. Not the end of the world. Doesn't cost any money to print. No paper being used. I guess it takes computational power, so it does cost some money. How interesting. So notice it never even iterated through our. It's almost like did we ever even call? Oh, that seems like a big mistake, right? We have our update contest lineups defined, but we never even called it in our function. That's pretty stupid. So we can do it in two places. I kind of think we just want to. Let's do it in our main.py. I feel like this might not be the best way to do it. Let's go ahead and do it this way. Now we're getting somewhere. Yeah. No kidding. Cursor, give me a refund. Oh, that's okay. So our keys for our player dict are these tuples, right? And I actually made a mistake here because our player dict is a tuple. Our keys are. Oh. I think this will work just like that. All we got to do is just tell it to point to the right thing. And you know what? We got to update all of these, don't we? Let's try that again. And hopefully we get a nice updated contest lineups print. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Now let's go back to update field lineups. And let's just print our new keys. Let's just make sure that this is loading correctly. This is how this stuff works. It's a ton of debugging, figuring out where the issues are. Make sure everything's loading correctly. See, our new keys is empty. New keys is empty. New keys is empty. Interesting. Interesting. Makes me wonder if we aren't updating our self.field size, you know? In our contest structure, we do have field size. We do have it there, don't we? Could be so. Right, self.field size. We'll probably remove this columns print as well. You don't need that anymore. We're good there. Field size is -1. So we're never updating it, are we? We're never updating it. Or we're always using contest data. We're always using contest data. So let's just do this. Fix our payout. Contest structure is all messed up. Are unbelievable. Should be fixed now. Contest standings. We do have it defined, don't we? No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we do. Contest structure. So it's defined. Why is it saying that there's no payout? Because there's a trailing space in our payout. All right, let's move to trailing space. That'll fix it. Just some silly formatting issues. Good. There. Look at us. We loaded our lineups. 5798 lineups. And now we have the mappings. There's a lot of here's the field lineups index and here's the entry ID, right? This is exactly what we want. We have that map now. So in the milli, this 6,000 entry milli, where there were only I think 5885 lineups, I believe that was the number. About 80 of those lineups were duplicated. Interesting. So now let's go back in here and figure out what are these prints? What is this Scotty Miller doing? What is Scotty Miller doing? Oh. See, Joe Mixon didn't play, did he, on Sunday? This is what I was talking about with these players are all not projected by me for any kind of reason. Usually it's like a projection thing. Like somebody played Jermaine Burton. I didn't have projection for him. So let's look at our output real quick. Let's look at our output because it did it complete? No, it died. It died. Type. Go ahead and go back to LU type. And we can just say this is contest or something. I don't know. Let's just I just want to see if we get an output. But while that's running again, and while we get an output, we need to put a little method in to backfill players. Although the problem is, I mean, these lineups are dead anyway, right? Right? I mean, Malik Willis, he didn't even play. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting problem. Interesting problem. What should we do with these? Kind of throwing it out to the forum here. We'll just call this contest for a second. What if you don't project a player and that player shows up in somebody else's lineup, what should we project that player for at that point? Should we just automatically give that player a 0? Because the problem is we can't. Well, that's not true. We can always get the player team from the player IDs. Wow. So I'll take that back. What we're gonna have to do is in our player IDs in here. What we're gonna have to do so add player to player dict with 0 projection, 0 SCD. So what we're gonna do here is we are kind of so if we look at our player IDs file, we do have salary, so we can load salary. We can load team abbreviation, right? So would be shirt row salary. And we also have, and actually we don't want to use raw zeros for these values for an important reason, and that has to do with the Cholesky decomposition we do when we're dealing with the correlation and covariance matrices. We want to make sure we have small numbers and not zeros. That is important. I don't, in lineup isn't needed. Unique key we need. I'm forgetting one important. Do we already have team in here? Yes. I feel like that's everything. Maybe I'm wrong. It shouldn't change anything. Having a small number instead of a 0. Well, it would just make it so we're less likely to hit some kind of weird error when we're running these sims. That's it. Why is it saying that there's a syntax error here? Yeah. This all seems okay to me. I don't understand why it's giving me this weird syntax error. Okay, assigning entry. So let's go in. We can just remove these now. We don't need these prints anymore now, do we? So run it again. Yeah, that's just the issue. Unexpected indent. Am I missing a comma? Let's do this. Nope, I don't know what it did, but hopefully that fixes it. Up would then be team up. Team up, team up, team up. Matchup is up. And the last thing we need to do, we do need to give these guys a number. We do need to give these guys a number. So we need to append. We need to take this value here where we're adding players of team dict, and we need to do that same thing in here in our player IDs. Once we have I think it goes there, and let's make this a little prettier. Let's just take all this and put it inside of our player data variable. Much cleaner to do it this way. There we go. Okay. Gotta love how we have the deduplicate matchups duplicated. That's called irony. And I feel like this is just going to run for us now. I feel like this is just going to run for us now, and we're going to have correlation matrix issues. We can debug that. We can debug that. I feel like I have this fixed on the site side and not the so you don't need to print that anymore. What was the where's my contest map? I just don't want to print that anymore. We don't need it. We just don't need it. There it is. All right. We're almost there. Almost there. Player F points is saying it's a not a string for some reason. That's very weird. Sure seems like a float to me. Let's go ahead and just print out that line and see what the F points P is 0. Let's just go ahead and just do try step type error print F. Then we can do F points P and we'll print out the player as well. Possible this is like a player with like an empty player, maybe, for example. That could be an issue. Could be all sorts of stuff. This positive semi-definite error, does this happen? If anybody uses the repo right now, does this happen on the regular pre-contest sims all the time? I feel like I fixed that issue. I feel like I fixed that issue. Oh. Could even be a float. Maybe it is a float. I don't see. In our output, we're gonna need to do something a little. We don't need to iterate through self.field lineups. Oh, it finished. It finished. No errors. That was really strange. They're really strange at fantasy points error. Let's see. Let's see. Here's our output. We got everything out of order. Everything's out of order. There's Jordan Love in running back for some reason. But it does look like some stuff worked. Some stuff worked. We got Deontay Johnson playing defense. I feel like that's suboptimal. Suboptimal. Let's just see quickly. Just see quickly. We got a Rams. Jaden Daniels, Bijan, Brian, Ertz, Godwin, Drake, and Ray. We like that lineup in the millie for whatever reason. Interesting. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We're definitely almost have it. So we really want to do for entry ID lineup and self.contest lineups. So we want to say field lineup equals self.field lineups, but then we got to do a little trick. Self.contest lineups, perfect. And now we're going to iterate through self.contest lineups. We're going to grab the field lineup out of there. We're going to calculate all this stuff. I see the problem. I'm not entirely sure why I did it this way, that's for sure. I'm not entirely sure why I did it this way. We can just do this. So we're looking at lineup. Just like that. Right. Except we're using the name, the ID in the lineup. So we gotta pen player name. So it's just out of order. That's why I did it this way. Although I kind of regret doing it this way. Self-dot. How am I doing self-dot roster positions? Let's make LU names here. Let's make this even easier. LU names is it's a dictionary now, so we'll just say LU names. That should do the trick, right? Then we'll have Cursor do some quick little formatting updates for us. DE, Flex, DST. Should do the trick. This use contest data is going to really drive me crazy. Use contest. Let's just find it in here and how annoying. True. All right. We're coming up on 2 hours. I'm probably going to jump off here in a second. Once we get this one figured out, watch the end of the Orioles Royals. But we're right there. We are right there at the very, very end. All we're going to do now, all I'm going to do is change the output a little bit. So like FD, we can just remove FD from out of here, for example. We no longer need that. We can get rid of this. And we just want to get the entry ID here and the username. So let's go ahead and do like comma, comma, comma. Oops. Let's do this for now, and then do all we're going to do here then is add entry ID. Let's see. User name equals self dot lineup username. Entry num equals lineup. I can't remember what we called that now, but it's just going to be our entry number, and then it'd be lineup num entries. Then we're going to add these in, and then at the end we'll get a nice little summary of each lineup in the contest. But we'll also be able to build a nice little sheet that shows everybody's equity with all the lineups they have and their their expected ROI and everything. So, oops, just like that. Let's see that. Just yeah, I think you guys can see kind of where this is going. This is going to be super easy to do at this point. So I'm going to call it. If there's any last questions, I'll give you a couple minutes to ask it. And then Dog, I think, wants to go outside. So I'm going to jump off. And remember, the new commands now are going to be Python, main.py, site, it's always going to be DK, post contest sim, year, week, number of entries, a number of sims. Should be pretty simple. And then if you guys have any ideas for what data would you want to see in post contest sims, hit us up in our Discord or tweet at me, and we can look at implementing them. I mean, I think there's a lot you can do with post-contest sims, right? You can look at duplicates. You can look at ownership, actual ownership versus expected ownership. You can look at user equity. We could do for DraftKings. We could do it for FanDuel. For DraftKings, for example, um, we could do like a running leaderboard. We could look at like the flagships for like the year so far and showdowns, and we could do like running leaderboards of you know what I just realized. You know what I just realized. We need to make this we need to specify classic here. We do need to do that. We do need to do that because we're going to have to do the same thing for Showdown, which I think will be easier. I think Showdown should be a lot easier. Player pairings would be good. Player pairings would be good. Man, I did not like that. Forgot the. I forgot all of the commands now. 2024, week 4, 10,000. I think that's what we did. Man, now it really hates me. That's because what did I do? Oh. Had to reactivate the old virtual environment. Yeah. Yep, that's a good thought. That's a good thought. And that's why I left this file argument open, is because we're going to want to write a way. We're going to want to write a way to bring in your own lineups and test them. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's probably the best. Is just we already have a load lineups from file function, right? And now the question would then be how do we handle where a contest filled up? Do we just randomly replace 100? Let's say you were going to import 150 lineups. Do we randomly replace 150 lineups? Do you have to specify which player you want to replace? So like if you on your entries file, you have to say I don't know, that's a good question. I'll have to think about that. What would be the mathematically sound? What the sound way to do it would be you have to say whose lineups you're going to replace, and by default, you replace your own. Because, like, let's say, for example, we randomly chose one user to replace for their lineups or whatever, and you imported 150, and we replaced who's the Unical's entries. He's the best player, I think. Still, he still uses Fantasy Cruncher. He doesn't even use Sims. It would how different would it be if you add them to the pool? This is a sorry. This is a 6,000 lineup contest with a 150 entry max. I think it would break it. Not break it, but I don't think. I think you're losing some validity of the post contest sim because you're extending the field here by 2.5%. I don't know. That just feels wrong to me. That just feels wrong to me. Maybe what I'll do probably is I'll put up a question in Discord and see, kind of poll the crowd and see what they think, how that should be handled. There's a lot of different ways we could do it. Yeah, for large GPPs, it would be okay. It would be okay. Like for a 20,000 entry contest, are you really screwing these up that much if you're just adding 150? Everybody's cash probability would slightly go down. ROI would slightly go down. Yeah, I mean that's probably it. Is we just add our new user lineups to the field lineups. That's probably it. And in fact, I think so. When we load our lineups, where's our? Forget what the hell these things are called even. When we load these in, we just load them directly to the field lineups. Let me fix this real quick. I forget what I called these things. Entry number, num entries. So I think the way to do this is to make a variable that's like self.user lineups in here. Just like we did with with contest lineups, right? Oops. Keep clicking that button. I think we could do it like this. And then just like we did with contest lineups, we'll have a map that keeps track of the user lineups. And then in the output, we'll iterate through user lineups and contest lineups separately. Same field. It gets more complex when we start doing the multi-generation stuff like we have on a site. That's going to be a little more complicated. But I think for this, I think it'll work just to do keep user lineups, like user inputted lineups and contest lineups separate. So All right. Well, I'm going to think about how to do that. And I'll finish up this. I should be able to post. I'm going to figure out what this positive semi-definite problem is too. That's kind of annoying. But I suppose we can do one more stream tomorrow before we talk about Showdown and knock the rest of this out and knock out the user import stuff, clean up the output. I think that's the plan. Maybe we'll get on. I think I scheduled it for 2, so we'll say like 2 to 3 is finishing this, and 3 to 4 is talking about Showdown or something. I think that's the best way to do it. Let's just go ahead and but with that, I'm gonna jump off. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll have I'll have projections for this week up on the site, AceMind.io, at later tonight or early tomorrow morning, and I'll have getlineups.com updated with some Showdown lineups if you just want to sweat a plus EV lineup. Excuse me. If you want to sweat a plus EV lineup, we'll have some loaded in there where you can just pick a player you want to boost or limit, and we spin them out for you. Super easy to use. Yep, no problem, no problem. Thanks for hanging around. It's a long 2 hours. Or it wasn't a long 2 hours. It flew by. All right. See you guys. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Looks like we got another lineup string issue, but that'll be easy to fix. This stuff now is just like running it and just checking our work and making sure things are right. So anyway, we got AceMind.io is the main site. And we got getlineups.com is our, it's like a little, it's supposed to be like a phone app, something you would go to. Let's say you just want to go to the bar, you're at the bar or whatever, you're trying to eat, and you don't put any thought into the Showdown. You just want to line up to play. You just want to line up to play. That's the one you go to. It's like $2 for 20 lineups we give you. And there's like an AI summary. We have an AI that kind of helps choose which lineups are the best of the 20. And then it's like $2 for it. And you can use those 20 however you want. You can upload them directly to DraftKings or FanDuel. You can just choose 1 to 3, or however you want to do it. Yeah, super easy to use. So check that out. With that, I'm leaving. See you guys.